Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright, Jr., founder and host of the show. We are indeed glad to have yet another amazing guest. We're broadening our horizons a bit right now. We have a guest that specializes in making life better for employees. And so we're going to talk to him and get some more amazing information from Mr. Chris Pierce, who is the CEO of Pierce, President and CEO of Pierce Benefits Group. Chris Pierce has spent 35 years working with the public sector and designing employee benefit packages to help administrators with recruiting and retaining employees in the public sector workforce. Originally, he began under his father, Glenn Pierce, who recognized the lack of employee benefits and services for North Carolina educators. Mr. Pierce began to fulfill those needs by providing quality insurance options with a focus on high quality customer service. Chris's dad has said, quote, "We may not always know the answer, but we are always going to answer the phone." Today, as Pierce Group's CEO, Chris ensures that the focus remains the same: to assist public sector employees with the day-to-day challenges of recruitment and retention by delivering cost-saving, energy-enhancing, elevated benefits solutions to their clients and their employees. The Pierce Group Benefits team has continued the tradition of providing excellent service, product innovation, and cutting-edge solutions. With access to additional resources and leverage, they are able to negotiate competitive rates and build comprehensive plans for their clients. Chris grew up watching his father work with educators to deliver their insurance needs. After attending Fuquay-Varina High School near Raleigh, North Carolina, Chris attended East Carolina University. We'll forgive him for that. While in college, he began working with his father during his freshman year, providing benefits to educators in Eastern North Carolina. And in 1993, he went full-time focusing on the family business. Chris has had multiple roles throughout his career with the family business. He started his career as a benefit counselor, working directly in schools for approximately 15 years. Then his role changed to where he worked directly with the central office staff, finance, HR, and superintendents. Over the years, school educators have moved across state lines into Virginia and South Carolina. And with that, several of these administrators have asked Chris and Pierce Group to bring their unique benefit services to their district. Also, over the last 20 years, Pierce Group has expanded to other public sector entities, including community colleges, cities, and county governments, providing those employees with similar benefits packages as well. Today, Pierce Group manages employee benefit programs for over 220 public sector entities, servicing 170,000 plus employees. He is also a retired firefighter and EMT in Southern Wake County, North Carolina, for the Fairview Fire Department. He now serves on the Wake County Fire Commission as well as the board with Fairview. Chris is also heavily involved in his church in Fuquay-Varina, and with that, he's involved in several programs at the church. One he particularly enjoys being part of is the Awana Children's Program. And at this time, I'd like to welcome to the Wright Experience my good friend, Mr. Chris Pierce. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Want to get right into some of the questions here, and I think it would probably be most appropriate to begin with just asking you to talk to us. I'm certainly, I know the answer to this question, but for our audience, when you first approach a school district about serving them, what does that process look like? Let's start off with that.
Well, thank you. And Dr. Wright, normally when we first approach someone, it depends on the central office approach, right? It might be benefits fall under HR, might be finance, superintendents. Sometimes we see folks at conferences, right? So we may be at a conference with a superintendent and they'll say, Chris, I've heard from my colleague about services you provide. Could you meet with me and my staff? So normally that's the approach, is really just depending on where benefits fall, maybe, starting there if it's our attempt to get the conversation going. If it's coming from you all, just really where the question starts. Conferences have a lot of bearing.
Very good. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about throughout your bio, and because I know what you do. There's a lot of emphasis, particularly in today's time, because I call it a teacher's seller's market, an employee's seller market. So right now we have less employees than we have jobs. And so how does your work help with recruitment and retention of employees?
Well, Dr. Wright, thank you for that too, because that has definitely changed that conversation. I've had superintendents tell me, Chris, retention is the new recruitment. We've got good people. We got to be able to keep them. And what are you guys doing, and what can you help me do to keep, good folks in our schools? And so what we're constantly, listening, and we realize too that employees like and really prefer to know benefits in detail, right? Now, what's difficult is it's complex, it's hard, and employees' needs, they change over time. So what employees really do prefer is to have conversations with benefit counselors. So that role that you mentioned, I started for 15 years, that's still where my heart is. I love sitting down with employees in those schools. I love the maintenance shops at 6:30 in the morning. I'm an early riser. That's when they're in and out, and you have to, but having those conversations and talking with them about their family needs and setting that benefit package up, that's important. Making sure that employees throughout their life, can also keep those benefits. Some carriers that we work with, there's certain times and some fine print that employees have got caught up with. And so we definitely negotiate hard for our employer groups and employees to make sure, that helps employees throughout the whole long term. And I had one superintendent tell me, right before she retired, she said, Chris, I sat down with your counselor. I didn't even know she was considering retiring. And she said, I made sure I got everything just like I wanted it. So when I left, there in a year or so, that I'd be able to port and keep guaranteed renewable some of those benefits that I really want to keep long term. And that was 8 years ago. I heard her say the other day she still got them all. So, and from a recruitment perspective, I find this interesting. We've been blessed in that in across multiple states. You guys sometimes are hiring employees from neighboring districts, and they like to be able to bring, their benefits with them. And so we feel like if we're fortunate enough to work with you all, and, that's a conversation that we want to make sure we have, is help those employees move those benefits in with them when they come too.
Okay. Very, very, very good. And so for the employee, it's really more or less a sense of comfort, isn't it? Knowing that those things are taken care of. So, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's talk about things that you might do or set up for new employees. So, we've got new employees. Do you do something special to try to get them acclimated or aboard? Is that something that you do?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, to your point, it's a different time now. There's a lot more new employees coming on board than there used to be. And when they first come on, that from an employee perspective, if it's your district or any other district, that's kind of their first approach of getting to know you all as far as how they're onboarded. How's this? And so, but it's complex, right? You got so many fine details of insurance. It can be always fun to explain. And So what we've done, that's our job, is to make sure we did a good job on your annual enrollment, but from a new hire perspective, how could we help? And districts ask us, Chris, we're just not able to cover all that in a timely manner. In the summer, we got 200 people we're working through in a week, right? So we've taken that on, which we really enjoyed, and are starting to work directly with what we call the new hire experience. It's that simple. Okay. And we direct message. It's called D2E. That's our language there. We direct message to employees the minute your HR department or finance lets us know they've just hired someone. We start direct messaging to them and set up a time to visit with them by phone, et cetera, virtual, whatever, some choices might be made there, and sometimes in person. And it's just so helpful to employees in the school districts. We piloted it in about 5, and they just could not say enough about it. So we're quickly ramping that up in others. So we're probably about 15, 16, and any new groups that come on now, they go straight to that new hire experience.
Okay. Very good. And so you're partnering with the districts to make that available. How often is that? Once or twice a year or whenever?
That's a great question, Dr. Wright. It's every time they hire somebody new. So if I was going to come to your district to work, after I started with HR, probably within a day or two, I would get as soon as HR enters it in the system, that message is directed to me, Chris, welcome, and reach out, and we're going to set up a time to help you sign up for all of your benefits. And then when I do, as an employee, I would meet directly with a Pierce Group counselor, and they guide me through the options, whether it be health, dental, vision, supplemental insurances, FSA. Ask me a lot of questions, about my family. Is that some interest? And it's just a really good process that we've gotten probably more comments on than we've done anything in the last decade, is from an employee perspective.
Okay. All right. Very good. So there's a lot of talk now amongst school districts, particularly at my level, and conversations with general assemblies and so forth, about being more efficient, being more effective. And so what thoughts do you have on that in terms of how we might be able to operate more efficiently?
Well, you guys are asked to do more with less every day in that central office. Would you agree? And right on down to the schools. But one area that we can help with that is in the central office, the efficiencies that we can bring to the table. From one, like you just talked about, that new hire experience, that'll free up someone in HR to spend more time doing other things with that new hire, or just other things within their daily duties, which is a lot, because they go from throughout the year not having many new hires. In the summer, it's a lot, right? So that's one thing. And then there's other things we're trying to do to help with efficiencies. When you're in finance or you're in HR handling the insurance bills, that's a monthly ongoing billing conversation, right? Those bills have to be reconciled. So if you got 100 employees that participate, if one leaves, if one changes, there's always some conversation to have with those carriers, and what we call bill reconciliation. And quite honestly, that can be a little burdensome for folks in the finance and HR department, whoever's touching that. And so we've taken on a new process called Bill Recon, and it has been a game changer for folks in that department. As one district told me, she's about 2,500 employees in this district. She told me this recently, Chris, I don't know how groups do this anymore without that particular function. She loves it. And then we're also doing it for the health insurance. So now in Virginia, we do a lot of health insurance locally at the district. But when you get into South Carolina, North Carolina, it's through a state health plan or through, some type of similar process. And in those particular schools, what we're helping schools do is bill recon that health. And it is real money, Dr. Wright, back in their budget.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You can be, you think about it, that's probably one of the biggest ticket items you all have outside of payroll when it comes to that employee, is that health insurance cost. And you can be 97% accurate, but as employees are coming and going, it doesn't take but a handful of those to get to be turned off, or just things not be reconciled, in a timely manner. And we're having districts. I had a finance officer in South Carolina tell us at the conference, you guys really got to get this on the road and tell people. And we're trying as quick as we can, because with budget conversations, I mean, it's real money. And I don't say that lightly. I'm a conservative person and try not to overestimate for you guys, working on budgets and things. But it's a real saving, especially when you're talking about that health insurance. So thanks for asking.
Okay. Very good. That sounds like something that we all could take advantage of for sure. That's great. So in this world of employee benefits and insurance and all of that, sometimes people are reluctant, you know that, to delve into those things. So first of all, what advice do you give to people who are seeking to get more benefits? How do you advise those folks individually? And then secondly, if someone is interested in the field that you're in, and we'll do those in that order, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Well, I think first, from your first question there, if employees are interested or need to learn more, or just really want to have a conversation,
yep,
you gotta trust that benefit counselor. And that's one thing I've always appreciated about our operation here at Pierce Group. A lot of our benefit counselors have been here for a very long time. We had one retire in July. He did it for 50 years.
Wow.
Now, I was so blessed too, because he was my neighbor actually growing up. My dad's, and it was a second career for him. He started out with Coca-Cola right downtown Raleigh, and Dad and him had some conversation. But he was a trusted guy from southeastern North Carolina, down around Whiteville area, and he went to the same schools every year. People just really, really appreciated, and he was always just straightforward. And that's what he told me on my porch when I moved out of my parents' house, right on a little farmhouse we had, a little rental house we called it, on the farm. And he came up there and he said, "Hey man, you just always be honest, and everything works out right." So that's what we try to have on in our team, is good, and people that come and go. Go to the same schools and locations most every year. They work the same central offices. So, when you guys go at a conference, or we're at a finance or HR conference, board conference, they actually see people that they've known throughout the years of their employment. So that comfort is number one. They got to feel comfortable. And then we just really start kind of talking through it, asking questions. Needs change. They've got a child, or something happens in their life, or maybe something happens to a parent, and they realize there's a need that they need to kind of talk through. So just helping them be there and having that conversation year in and year out.
So it sounds like you guys are interested in establishing relationships first. Is that right?
Dr. Wright, it's funny you mentioned that. Years ago, I was in a class one time, and the guy had a whole flip chart, and he had it covered. And he said, "There's only one thing you need to know about this job, just one thing." And he flipped it up, and he said, "It's relationships." And that's so true. And again, I'm so thankful that I've had folks like yourself, others that I've known, Dr. Bracy and Eli and Eric, they were in a national magazine. I text them, somebody shared with me. I've known them, but I've known so many across multi-state lines, and it means a lot, and it really does. And like I said, like even Dad told me, you guys talk a lot, so it's a blessing, because I know I have friends in all parts of the states that I cover, and counties.
Right. That's but there's an old saying, you got to show yourself friendly. So you've certainly done that for us as well. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
So the second half of that, if somebody is maybe a business major fresh out of college, or if they're looking for, as you mentioned, a second career, or old rusty superintendent who's thinking about next steps or whatever, what advice do you give them?
Well, Dr. Wright, and again, thank you for that. I fresh out of college. My nephew, he came right out of college and went to work with us, and he traveled with me a little bit last week because he had some downtime in his role based on some scheduling. And he's done it 8 years, and he goes right out to those schools and does the benefit counselor role like I did the first 15 years. He loves that. So it's got a start for, it's got a great opportunity for people just right out of college. And I've said that multiple times. And then there's also, several people that I've worked with that it's their second career. We've got some that was retired superintendent, DPI, HR, teachers. We've got several teachers, and a lot of them do go quickly into that benefit counseling role because they like that. They're familiar with it because they've seen, their benefit rep come each year. And it has a great opportunity. Some stay with us well over 10 years. And so you could, have an opportunity to grow a little business there, if you will, the way that we kind of work it on a contract basis. So, and we're busy at certain times of the year, like, school in the summertime, not quite as busy. January and February, not quite as much. So it's a real good opportunity to have a career in that as well. Sure is.
Okay. All right. So if folks have further questions or whatever, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, they can reach out to me. PierceGroupBenefits.com is our web address. Okay. They can email me. My email is cpierce@PierceGroupBenefits.com. And of course, they can always call me as well. I've got my cell phone out there as well as the office line. And it's an 800 number here, but they can hit my cell phone. It's a 919 area code, 369-6675. And that's my personal cell. And a lot of folks have access to that, and I'm more than willing to talk anytime.
So that's the website, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay,
yeah.
And we've got the rest of the information. Mr. Pierce, if you hold on with me for just a minute, we'll come back and close out the show.
Thank you, Dr. Wright.
As you can see, another amazing guest. We are working diligently at the Wright Experience to try to diversify our portfolio, to get some guests, but we also want to hear from you. As you think of people that you'd like for me to have on as guests of the show, we're certainly not limited to any one genre by any means. We're looking for amazing guests. And as you can see, we always try to bring you the very best content that we can. Very shortly, my next guest will be Dr. Montreal Belton, who is an attorney that used to be a principal colleague of mine, and we'll have him on the Wright Experience very much in short order. Mr. Pierce, I just want to thank you, my friend. An amazing interview, and we certainly have learned more about the world of benefits, and we just appreciate you. I'll try to speak a little bit on behalf of some of my colleagues. We appreciate the fact that you guys are always responsive. You kept up Dad's dream to always be responsive, answer that phone, as you said in the opening, and keep us informed of what we need to do to better serve our employees. And we appreciate the partnership, for sure.
Well, Dr. Wright, thank you, and thank you so much for what you do and your colleagues in the education area out there. It means so much to me. There's a lot, that y'all have to deal with these days, but teaching young folks means so much, and I really appreciate y'all's leadership.
Thank you, and to the Wright Experience audience, thank you, and good evening.